Welcome to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. This is episode 21, where JK and I talk about if you are not a coach and you're trying to train for a hybrid fitness racing event, how do you program for yourself? What do you do? Where do you start? How do you organize it? What are your goals to get there? And how would you structure programming for yourself for any hybrid fitness racing event, including Hyrox or DecaFit? Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. I'm already recording because I know you got short time today.
Sorry about that.
We can do some catch up on it and just let everybody listen. So
yep. Sounds good.
So we are on to episode 21 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. How you feeling today, JK?
Very well, thank you, Anthony. Going well. I'm glad it's Friday. For me, it's Friday morning for me, and Thursday afternoon for you.
Thursday afternoon for me. That is correct. I don't know, not that we're going to change anything on this podcast, but I thought we'd pick it up a little bit, be a little, I don't know if before we were matter of fact, but been listening to a lot more lighthearted maybe podcasts and like books and stuff. And I'm like, you know what, let's just have fun, a little bit of banter and stuff, back and forth.
I like it.
And today the idea is actually, we're both coaches. We tell people like, give them programming and all this stuff, as well as like helping them. I do like videos, reviews and things like that for some of our clients and help them with tapers and things. And I know you have a whole like town hall meeting every week with your people.
That's probably a good way to put it, mate. It feels like that, to be honest.
Where you're the commissioner of the town hall and everybody comes in and gets to ask you questions.
Yeah.
Order in the court. Here we go.
Order in the court.
Step up to the microphone.
Yeah.
I really like that idea, actually. I might steal that and start implementing it sometime soon. It's a really cool added benefit of your program.
Yeah.
What kind of things do you review with them during that time?
Well, it's funny, mate. It started out just on a Monday, morning to kick off the week. It was anything and everything in relation to training, health and fitness, lifestyle, mindset, nutrition. And then I also try to, as much as possible, make it as like I try to get them involved as much as possible. Some days I feel like I do the prep and I'm like, no, today's going to be a little bit more informative and teacher-esque. But then some days I'm like, no, I'm going to ask questions, and then they pipe in and stuff. So anyway, long story short, it's Monday, and then I do a Friday one as well to kind of wrap up the week. So I personally love it, and I know for a fact they do as well. But I hope they like it as much as I do, because I really enjoy doing the group calls and whatnot, because I enjoy that type of coaching, kind of like facilitating, more understanding about what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you should really get. I personally think a lot of people get a lot out of it. Yeah, hopefully.
I think that's great. Providing them extra benefit, added value to your program. I think that's a fantastic thing to do. I really like that idea. And just the things you go over, and you record it, right? So people can watch it afterwards, after the fact. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
So that's fantastic. And it kind of gets into a little bit what we're doing today. We as coaches, we've noticed I've had people ask me on our program and people not on our program, hey, how would you program for this? I have this coming up. And, one of the things we really like to do for this community is just provide benefit. And that's kind of why we have this podcast, is like, yes, we're out here saying, hey, you should sign up for JK's program, sign up for the hybrid engine, one of like whichever one or any of these others, because like we say, incoming tide raises all ships. So, or you can high waters covers all stumps, right? So,
Yeah.
there's a couple ways to look at that, but one of the things I like to do is I get questions all the time, people just asking like, hey, how can I do this myself? Like I don't want to pay or I can't pay or they're not into the community or something like that. And that's kind of going to be what this is about. We're going to tell somebody how would you program? I just as a coach, if I was out there uh getting ready for my next race, whatever it's going to be. And in this case, let's say we're getting ready for a hybrid fitness race that involves at least 50% running, maybe more. How are we going to prepare for it? What would we do? What kind of things would we do? How would we set up our block of training? And all that. And there's going to be a ton of caveats to this because one of the things you have to recognize is what is your background? Where are you coming from? Are you coming from a strength background or a running background? What's your previous volume? Like, but we're going to do general, say, okay, I was an ex-athlete. I've barely worked out, not much aerobic conditioning over the last 3 years. And I've been working a desk job, and now I want to sign up for a high rocks, and I'm targeting one in March. So it's 6 months from now. We're
Cool.
going to give ourselves a
Yeah.
6 month, and then we'll cut it down as well. But let's start with that, and we'll just say some of the things that we would do, and some of the things that we do for our people that are signed up for the programs. And that's one of the benefits of having a coach is you don't have to think about this. Everything is laid out for you this way, and it's it's very, very helpful. And you can actually ask JK about this. That JK, how instead of like having to sit down and think every day or every week about your own what you're about to do, somebody else like says, here's what you need to do. They've thought about it for you so you can focus on other things.
It is one of the biggest reasons why I've been able to, well, I've been able to get fitter and faster and stronger in this sport. And I probably don't tell you that actually, Anthony, as much as I should, but like Georgie knows how much I love just wait. It's not waking up. It's actually like the week of having a look at my programming when you message me saying the week's up, just going, oh, fantastic. I can just have a look. And then, you know, I get to the gym, I'm like, no, it's already there. I don't have to think. I just have to do. I just have to I don't think, I just do. Right. It's so much for me personally, it's worked so well. And but I get that, some people and some athletes do like to have a little bit more power, like their own power to it. No, that's fine. That's totally fine. I think like to kind of stem on the idea here, right? Or to kick it off, the two things that I try to think about before even starting like drafting programming or is um the goal, like the goal of the athlete, and then also um what the actual event is. It's got to be goal driven. And as you just said, if this athlete is doing a hybrid sport event in 6 months' time, and it's, let's just say, 60% running, that tells me a lot as a coach how I'm going to program, right? But it all comes back to, as you just said, with the programming of the athlete in the first place or the individual, and whether or not they are well trained or not. And then you start from there, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, you got to start somewhere, but one of the things you can do is there's a whole bunch of ways to look at it. You can start with the end and work your way back. Um, or since you would be more familiar with where you're at immediately, you can work your way forward from there. So, if I'm just for an example, if I'm 40 pounds overweight, coming off the couch, haven't been moving. If I just jump into any old program, I am going to get hurt. So one of the things I first need to do is just get up and walk, maybe get up and start
Yeah.
rucking, maybe like get my body moving, and then, slow, consistent changes. Make sure that you make movement a habit first, and you might not see any weight loss, you might not see any uh, visual improvements to yourself at that time, but it's helping, right? Your heart's getting stronger, all that stuff. Your body's getting used to your blood flow, moving around, especially just used to movement. And then from there, like you work up. So we're not going to start at the very bottom where like, hey, I have to run for 5 minutes or walk fast for 5 minutes a day and can only add a minute a week to that 4 times a week. Like we've talked about, like that's kind of how I started with my weight loss to get to a point where I can actually run. I consistently run over 40 miles a week now, 40 to 50 miles a week. And trained I ran a marathon this year, a few half marathons. Like, so that's where we're starting is like, okay, you're kind of fit. Maybe you've been going 5 days a week to boot camp or CrossFit classes or a High Rocks gym or something, and you work out, you move. Right now, say you're moving for 4 to 5 hours a week, and that's where we're starting at. And you just signed up for High Rocks Glasgow or High Rocks something in uh, it's in
March.
March. We'll say it's in March.
Mm. So, okay. Um, Again, it starts with me. Simply it starts with the running component of the programming.
Yep.
What does that mean, right?
Well,
As you just said, this. Sorry, you go.
sorry, I just want to add one more thing to that. This can apply to this person if you're already a fit athlete and you're trying to make the leap. Say you're 50th zone, or you're 60 to 65 minutes and you're trying to break that 60-minute mark and get like as a male into that 58. Or if you're a female, you're around 70 and you're trying to get to that 64 zone. Like you're trying to hit those targets. This can apply to you too. A 6-month build is a great build.
Absolutely,
So it can be
absolutely.
for
So
anybody. Uh,
yeah, so it's not just for someone who's been training, as you just said, someone who's been potentially training at the gym for years, but not doing, let's just say, specific work. But it all comes back to starting the running component, or sorry, starting to think about your running routine per week. And what does that mean? Well, um, have a look at or start thinking about building volume when necessary and progressively over time, and then adding in some threshold work. Especially obviously, as you just said, let's you said a high rocks race, right?
yeah, that's
Um,
High Rocks or DecaFit. Those
yep,
those are kind of like almost global now, and they involve that 50% running. It could be like a rally in the valley that has specific events,
yep,
but you would just general train fitness for that up to a certain point until you knew some of the workouts. So let's go with just a general hybrid fitness racing.
yep. So you're gradually, sorry, not gradually, you're programming a progressive running routine that allows you to again, start overall cardiovascular improvement, but also for a lot, I think this is not considered enough, and that's getting used to the impact of running and running long and threshold running, but also just so your joints and your ligaments around your feet and your ankles and your calves and your knees, your hips are starting to understand the impact that is needed to run. Um, that's where I'd start, right? Yeah.
Yep.
How would you go with that?
Well, I'll talk about I'll just talk about how I build a program, and then like a complete program, all the phases of it at first, and then we'll we can dissect it. And so I always start with like really big and work down. Okay. Um, but before we go on, just in the middle here, if anybody just stops, takes a minute, open up your phone or listening device, go to the show, scroll down, hit write a review, leave 5 stars. It really
Oh,
helps us get out to everyone. Put this in the middle because maybe people don't make it to the end, but it really helps us get everyone more access, spread the words, and it helps us help people that we're trying to help. Okay,
yeah.
so the first thing I do when I start writing a program is or any macro cycle, right? So you can program 3 years out, like if you're like, hey, I'm 20 years old, I want to be in the Elite 15 when I'm 23 with a goal of a world champion. I have a 3 to 5 year goal. Like one of the things I would do, I'd sit down right there and be like, okay, well, let's take, yeah, I saw that fly buzzing there. Uh, so are the flies in Australia just massive? Do they bite you too? Are they poisonous as well?
They're not poison. Oh, surely they're not poisonous.
No,
America, they're not poisonous in
they're
America, are they?
no, it's just Australia. Everything can kill you. That's why I was asking.
Only the people in America are poisonous.
Yeah. Every animal in Australia will kill you. Every
Yeah,
human
that's
in
right.
US. That's right. There you go. Nice. That was good. I haven't heard that one before.
Back on
So
track. Back on track,
back
Anthony.
on track. Sorry. So I start macro. I forgot where I was, but let's start macro. I always start with three goals. Okay. A primary goal, a secondary goal, and a tertiary goal. And for most of the hybrid fitness racing, one of the things you definitely need to do is your primary goal is total load, total running, because every hybrid fitness racing event that we've ever seen involves running. And usually that's the place where you get low hanging fruit. Like you just go 10 seconds faster in this portion and you get minutes in your race. So start with the running. Because station work being the exact same and you increase the running, you increase half your race. And something we're talking about, 50% or more of the race is running, boom.
Yep.
So one of the things that I would do is I look at my primary goal. Okay, if my primary goal is get better at running, and this should apply to even if you come from a running background, maybe you don't need to increase your efficiency or your mechanical means of running, but you need to be better at like pre-fatigued state running, right? So that's definitely one of the things you got to do. So I look at mostly, and you've seen how I structure it, monostructural and gross conditioning, and I look at your total volume with that. And one of the things I want to say here for this part is please, 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 if you're trying to start training for a High Rocks or any of these hybrid fitness racing, do not just go online and be like, oh, look, a half marathon program. Oh, look, I'll follow this CrossFit program and this
Yeah.
weightlifting program. And I'm just going to do everything every day that each of them says. You will burn out, you'll collapse, you won't be able to do it, you'll get discouraged, and you'll probably quit. Um,
Yeah, but just quickly on that, you're defeating the whole purpose of fitness in the first place because you're just grabbing something here on an Instagram post, grabbing something there on a website. It's not periodized, it's not specific towards how you need to improve, whether it is, with your, aerobic or anaerobic, or it's just, yeah, as you do, I'm
well,
glad you said that because
well, well,
I think a
like
lot of
even
people are still doing that, right?
yeah, even if it is a periodized thing, even if they're like, well, this is a 12-week running program and this is a 12-week weightlifting program and this is a 12-week CrossFit program, I'm just going to put them all together. They're not in sync with each other.
Yeah.
You're going to have so much clashes between them. So you really have
Mm.
to like manage the load of that. So I'll
Yeah.
just primary goal, secondary goal, tertiary goal. Usually, for example, let's say I want to get better at running. I want to increase my single leg strength, and my tertiary goal is I want to do better pull-ups or get a muscle up or something. Like you can have skill-based goals as well. If those three things are your goals, they all lead towards the event, right? So what I would start with is I'd start with my running. Okay, I need to build my volume of running. And by volume of running, what I would do is I'd say I want to get to 40 miles a week, call it, right? So if I'm starting at 15 miles a week and I want to get to 40, what I would do is I would keep running my 15 miles per week of running, and I would add machine work in blocks of about 10 minutes a couple times a week, and then slowly convert that machine work into more running. And then I would also start to add one, maybe two running that is not slow and easy um, into those workouts. So if all I've
Yeah.
been doing is saying go to CrossFit class like 5 times a week, and I've been running uh 4 times a week for 4 miles a piece, what I would start doing is I'd start adding like 10 minutes of cool down machine work after my CrossFit classes. And then I have my combination there. And what I start to do is I start to say, okay, now 2 weeks later, I'll add some of that machine work into my run. So now I'm running 5 times a week instead of four, and I'm still doing 4 miles, and I'm up to 20 miles. And then 2 weeks later, I keep going until I get to the point. Every fourth week, I usually back off just a little, like 5 to 8 miles for a total in that week. And then I pick it back up and keep progressing until you get to your goal that you want to be doing. And about 40 miles a week is right. And maintain the machine work in there because you're going to
Yeah.
want that as well. And then you find your structure. So the way I like to structure is, JK, I love the double threshold. So
Yeah.
easy day, threshold running, threshold machine, easy day, threshold running, threshold machine, easy day, easy day. You can do the rest of the week easy days, or you can add like an X workout on a Saturday or something
Yeah.
like 2 days down.
Yeah.
And so that's your base structure. Now, time wise, you don't do the full double threshold template because otherwise that's just like we were talking about, just adding a double threshold template. um, you reduce those because you have other loads you need to accomplish. Like we talked about, you want to increase your single leg strength. So you build a single leg strength program that lines up with that. I like to base my programs on for strength on 9 day cycles because that lets you go through squat, press, pull, squat, press, pull, squat, press, pull, right? And so
Mm.
I do squats on one day, presses on the next day, pulls on the next
Cool.
day. Squat, press, pull, squat, press, pull. On the squatting days, or whichever day that we talked about, the single leg days, I don't always put those with the hard running days, right? Because you want to at least spread them out a little bit so that you're getting different
Mhm.
adaptations. Running is very catabolic to your system. Lifting is anabolic to your system, right? So that's growth versus decay. And then from there, you want to build in your workouts. And I like to say the GPP, the general physical preparedness we do, that's the glue. Everything else we're almost building in a silo, right? But the GPP is what connects this high level running to this high level lifting or this high level movement or skill level. Otherwise, I have to really reduce the level in order to connect them, right? But
Yeah.
with some
Yeah.
GPP, I get to connect them at higher levels, at higher efficiencies of the silos I've built them in.
So just quickly, what's an example of a GPP?
So, some examples of the GPPs, you can do brick workout
And sorry,
types.
what does GPP stand for?
GPP is general physical preparedness. Uh, in CrossFit, it would be like almost like your workout of the day. But we do skill specific, and sometimes we do them like if you've ever done triathlon training or Ironman training, uh, you do brick workouts in there where you'll do like full length or extra length swims followed by short bike, short run, right? So we do things like that, but with the movements of the event we're training for. So we'll do like full length or extra length sleds with a little bit of run and a little bit of
Yeah.
farmer carry or something, right? So you add something else in. So you do these triathlon brick workouts just adapted to high rocks. Now,
Yeah.
other GPP styles would include things. I know one of your favorites is the 6 rounds of 400-meter run and 25 burpees to a plate.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
where
it.
it's just you end up connecting like you're really fast at burpees. If I told you to do 25 burpees, you'd knock it out. If I told you to run 400 meters, you'd knock it out. If I told you to run 400 meters, rest for a little bit, and then run 400 meters back and forth for 6 rounds, you'd knock it out. But if I said the same thing with the burpees, be great. Now we have to glue those together. And every time you've done that workout 3 times, we've been
Three or
like
four
six
times,
months.
yeah.
Yeah, we've been together like 6, 7 months now, and you've done that workout 3 times, and each time you get faster, and you get faster simply because you're able to access a little bit more of your ability from the running you've built, from the burpees you've built. You're not doing full access of both things at the same time, but you're getting a higher percentage of that full ability every time we redo that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And
Just
if
on
anybody,
that, 6 rounds.
yeah, if
Six
anybody,
rounds,
oh,
400-meter run, 25 burpee to plate. Um, what was my time that I did a month ago?
I honestly cannot remember what your time was. I think you were like 16 minutes or something though. You were flying here. I'll be able to tell you because I'm going to look up my time right now so that people can understand one, the difference, and then give them the opportunity to beat us at it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it was 16 and change.
Yeah, I
Do
think
you
you were
know,
like
Georgie?
16, maybe it was like six. I think you were high 16s probably.
You get it up. You, Georgie's in the background here, and she remembers because she was there making sure the 6 rounds, 400-meter run, 25 burpee to plate. That was in Sydney, remember? And you had to hold the treadmill.
So
Um,
I'll tell you, I pulled up mine. So you must have been somewhere, yeah, just under 17.
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Georgie.
So
Yeah.
I did this. I have mine, and I did this. I remember did it right after you. Oh, this isn't my most recent one. This is from May. So this is 4 months ago I did this.
Yeah.
I did 1854. I'm pretty sure
1854. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last time I did it more recently, I think I went right under 18.
I think that's what I remember you saying that, I think.
Yeah. So, well, this one from May, 1854. I did all my runs about a minute 40, minute 45, on the assault runner. And each round, it looked like I just bled a little bit over 3 minutes until round five was 3:32. Um, so this, yeah, just if you try it, give us a give us a number how you do. I'm very curious what the community's ability at this is. It's
Yeah, and just
definitely,
to clarify,
yeah.
just because I get this question a little bit, burpee to plate pretty much means you have a 20, well, for me, 20-kilogram plate on the ground. You're pretty much burping on the ground, jumping on and off the plate, on and off the plate for the standard.
Yep.
Um, a lot of people actually like, and rightly so, if they haven't heard burpee to plate, they go, "What the hell? Like, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's just a burpee, guys, on the ground, except for when you stand up instead of like jumping, clapping above your head. And to make sure that you are actually leaving the ground, you jump to a
leaving the
3 inch
ground.
plate. And so a 45-pound plate or a 20-kilo plate, something that you just have to jump on, jump off.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it's quick, it's fun, but it gets you going. It gets your heart rate up too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we'll
Um,
move on from that, but that's a good workout. That's an example of a GPP. So JK, if we're building a program, how often does somebody need to, like, should they just be, they're 6 months out, I just need to run sims every other week until it comes up?
oh man, that's a great question because I have learnt the hard way that running sims isn't necessarily getting you fitter. in for the sake of fitness. So to answer your question, right? Well, just to go back to it, well, you know, um, no, I strongly believe, and you know, what we and what we're doing together, Anthony, like we strongly believe that you don't need to run specific sims, um, not until you know 3 to 4 weeks out, maybe. But even then, a simulation, and that word even kind of like I hate that word because at the end of the day, you can't simulate the race. You can't. You
Yeah.
can't truly, sorry, I should use the word truly, 100% simulate the race. Going back to, like, I guess the question, when should you start um, compromise running? Well, you can add in some short, sharp compromise running every so often, but you got to go back to that concept of getting better at running, or sorry, to get better at running, sorry, to get better at compromise running, you got to get better at running in the first place. And that's how you get better at compromise running. But yeah, like, um, I guess to answer your question, or just to go back simply, I don't think simulations need to be put into a program until 3 to 4 weeks out
Yeah.
of a race.
Um, Now, if we're saying you have 6 months to train for this, I would say start your training, touch a sled in a workout or as a strength piece, like maybe once a week. You can alternate weeks between push and pull too. Um, but about 3 or 4 months out, so 2 months minimum into your thing, run one, and it can be a sim workout or it can be like just running station 8 to 10 times back and forth so you know
Yeah,
what the feeling is. You're not going to exactly be able to simulate a race, but you can try that back and forth a bit and see how that goes. And then continue with your training. Your training is not necessarily going to, or sorry, your sim is not necessarily, like you said, going to be the thing that gets you fitter, and you don't need to test every single week or every other week, but you should know what the feeling is going to be like. So
yeah,
go about 2 months, have your base running, have your base strength, throw in a couple GPPs each week, hit the sleds a couple times, skill work on the things that are skill work based, uh, which would be the burpees, the lunges, the farmer carry, and the wall balls. Uh,
yeah,
Make sure that you're adding ski and row machines or bike, or it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact machines. Like if you don't have a skier, you can use a rower. If you don't have a rower, you can use a skier, or if you don't have either of those, get on the bike for those pieces, so that you're just used to like moving an external object, or in this case, a machine for power and conditioning piece. So, and that covers right there 6 of the stations plus the running, so 7 of the 9 movements. And then the other 2 movements are the sleds, which you're doing work on the sleds by doing strength every day. You're doing work on the sleds by if you go touch a sled and you do some pushes, or if you hike somewhere, or you ruck or something, like that's also helpful for the sleds. So I
yeah,
would get some of that type of work in and handle what you can. If you only have an hour a day, do something for an hour a day. If you have two separate 1 hour sections, do something in those two separate 1 hour sections 3 or 4 times a week, and then once the other 2 or 3 days a week.
yeah,
uh, get your recovery in. Remember, like we've said in past episodes, you can only train as much, or you can train as much as you can recover for, right? So
correct.
you have to be doing the right things. And then, but it really is just, even if you're a runner, continue running. Maybe feel the machines a little bit more. Work on some mobility if you're a runner, because you're going to want to be able to squat and lunge uh, quick. And then if you're a strength person, you need the impact load of the run. So go get on the machines, go get some load out running in the park or wherever you're running, different surfaces to develop those pieces that you need. And I would do that for another 2 months. So we're sitting at 4 months now. Now you're 8 weeks out. So we're in January, your race is in March. Now what do you start doing? Now you start getting a little bit more skill specific. Still a little general for another 3 weeks, I think. But you want to make sure you're doing, your pull-ups, strict pull-ups, and always do push-ups. Those things are fantastic. Do your wall balls, practice getting down into the bottom of that squat and where you need to be squatting to, and practice hitting the target because they're very strict nowadays on that accuracy of the wall ball target. And if you're not doing a high rocks, if you're doing a deca fit, practice how you're setting down the ram. Get your hands on a ram,
Mm.
and that type of thing. So you want to have all these pieces and then start putting them together. So then you would start your brick workouts. About 8 weeks out, you start your brick workouts and you start doing a little bit more skill specific stuff now twice a week leading into the event. And you run your second sim maybe 2 months out just to see kind of where you're at, as well as like how you're progressing, and it doesn't have to be like we talked about a sim exactly. It could just be like run and deadlift, run and back squat, run and but like go back and forth, machine and run, like feel it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And start getting bigger and bigger volume chunks of like your lunges and your wall balls and things like that. And then as you start to get really close, now I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna start throwing in maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks out, one like easy speed session of running. So now I'm like, all right, I'll do like a fartlek, maybe 10 minutes total of hard running, but I have that like fartlek of hard jog, hard jog, right? Few weeks out. And then I do some specific work for the race I'm doing. So I touch high high paced running with specific station stuff, whatever you need to work on, whatever that is. And you just work back and forth a little bit, like we talked about with the running and burpee workout.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Um, that specific um program plan is very similar structure to how I go about, coaching and programming, and obviously you as well, Anthony. The one big thing that I have learned as well is that I'm going to call it accessory work is very important. Obviously, um, and not only, well, use the word accessory, but also specific core stability work as well. Um, I love the the sessions that you deliver me, that are just like pure core work. And I think when it comes down to it, no matter what you're doing, whether you're running, whether you're back squatting, whether you're deadlifting, lunging, wall balling, I think we, like everyone, I think we underestimate the power of a stable core and your torso. And I think working specifically, as you say, in a silo, your torso a couple times a week is very important for every aspect of hybrid training and hybrid racing.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely like everything that I've been taught and that I preach when I coach people is you work core to extremity. The stronger and more stable your core is, the stronger you are globally, and it works outwards. So, like, I don't use my arm muscles, I don't use anything else nervous system wise until I've engaged my core, and it's in everything. And if you've never had a core injury, um, I don't know if people listening know, I've had back surgery, which is it was low back surgery too, so it's your core right away. That's like, hey, you have to start training your core when you get better. The first thing they tell you. But my when you have the inability to use your core, you globally are just you're done. You're destroyed. Uh,
Yeah.
so building your core is absolutely imperative. And one of the things I a little hesitant to throw this out there, but I hope everybody takes a look at the people that I coach and probably the people you coach too. Coming up at Amsterdam, the Elite 15, you'll see the core on people like my wife, Lauren, you, JK, um, Lauren Griffith, Kate Davies, Zara Piergianni. Um, you guys are so I think that's everyone that I'm coaching. Maybe Rebecca Nader too. My wife coaches her. Like, um, your guys' core is going to be stable and built. I
Yeah.
know that going in. So
Yeah. And even to the point where I've learned that looking like and it sounds really weird here, guys, but I think looking at an individual's core and torso, use the word torso, is reflect and someone's torso reflects on their training a lot.
yeah.
I'm a strong believer of that.
And
Um,
and we're not
yeah,
talking like destroying your core for 20, 30 minutes. Your core work is what, maybe 5 minutes a day?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and it's just consistent. We do consistent core work, but we do so many other things that require core stability, like our lifting, our back squats, our
Yeah,
deadlifts, like all that is core work. Uh,
yeah,
so it doesn't have to be a ton, but you should throw that accessory stuff in there.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I love the core, the torso work. Um, I want more of it, Anthony.
Yeah. All right. I mean, we can make it, we can add stuff in, but it's also detrimental. Core work can be some very tough core work, such as GHD sit-ups, can be very impactful on your CNS. So you do have to
Yeah,
watch that. You have to monitor that piece of it.
definitely. Yeah.
So
Um,
anyway, do you have anything else to add about building a program? If somebody wants to just go out there and build their own program, I think we've covered kind of where they should start, how they should progress. I remembered what I was saying earlier in the episode about if I had 3 to 5 years to train someone, I would probably just do a whole year of just aerobic base building to begin with, maybe even two of it,
yep.
and then start with the other stuff like aerobic base
Yeah,
building mixed with strength for like 2 years. Boom.
bang. Because at the end of the day, you can always get aerobically, cardiovascularly fitter. There's no endpoint there, right? So, and I actually said that to my athletes this morning on my workshop. Like, there's no endpoint there. But no, Anthony, I think we covered it well. I think, if you are if you are a type of individual who likes to be in control of your own training, which is totally understandable, just make sure um, you don't defeat the purpose by, as we said earlier, grabbing this here for like from there, like a 12-week running program, and then grabbing another strength program from another source. So make sure you just have a really hard think about where you're getting your sources from, and then adding it all together or not. That's probably the most important thing to understand. Because look, I was always there. I was always the one back in the days where I wanted to be in control of my training. And it wasn't until I reached out to Lauren and Anthony that I was okay to be not wrong, but open minded to change. And yeah, but look, I think we've covered it pretty well, Anthony.
Yep. Um, so if you want to learn more, guys, you can reach out to us. I'm sure JK does the same thing as me, where I get questions and I provide very long, sometimes scroll-like answers to people that ask me questions, or we can answer them on here on the podcast in audio form if you prefer that. And if you do prefer that, why don't you just go into your app right now, hit that little three triangle button, go to show, scroll down, hit write a review. Just take 1 minute, write a quick review. It'll help us get this in front of more
Bang.
people.
Definitely, definitely.
um, and jump on
Yeah,
JK's programming.
and jump on the hybrid engine. But last week's episode, we love the question and answer episode, and please don't hesitate to ask us questions, um and uh and yeah, we'll definitely get back to you.
Yeah,
So
and we did have more questions come in after that episode. So what we'll do, guys, is maybe we'll have a whole nother episode answering people's questions. I'd
yeah,
also like to start getting, I read scholarly articles that come out. And so maybe I will start bringing one of those on and we'll just review it for maybe 5 minutes in an episode. New studies about health and fitness and what that means and where it can take us. And maybe we'll do one of the review a question that we get each week. Maybe just answer one question a week at the end of an
yeah,
episode. We can go into that. If you guys have any ideas as well, reach out, let us know. We have a whole list of like 40 topics we can cover, but we also are open to more suggestions and listening to what our listeners want.
definitely. I think next week's episode will be probably from myself being in Amsterdam. So I won't be in Australia, Anthony. So
You
um
won't.
yeah, I'm heading to Amsterdam next Wednesday. So nice and early. So
Nice and early. We're gonna have to find a new time to record because
we will
you'll be in
indeed.
Amsterdam on Thursday. You'll be extremely jet lagged, and we'll get to talking, and we'll put up a little review too of what's coming up in Amsterdam the week after that. And we can also review because Toronto's coming up, Stuttgart's coming
Yeah,
up. Lots of good races going to be coming out, and I'm excited. I know you're excited. Maybe if we get a chance, I'll see if I can sneak my microphone into Lauren's bag. And if you guys, all the hybrid engine people, and uh, you guys all get together and talk about the race afterwards, maybe. But
definitely.
like you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
did
yeah.
after Worlds, that'd be cool too. But we'll see what's coming, guys. We're excited for you, and good luck out there.
We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you again for listening to the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. If you'd like to follow JK or myself, Anthony, you can find us at jk.hybridcoaching on Instagram or at the Hybrid Engine on Instagram. Either one of us usually and routinely answer questions on those platforms. So if you'd like to get in touch, reach out. Thank you again. Have a great day.